Yeah, so here's the thing. A budget is essentially a reservation point. It is a bottom line beyond which you cannot move. So if you are talking to somebody who is at all savvy about what it is they're doing, they should not in any way let that on, in the same way I would tell you not to let that on, right? If someone says to you, like, what's the least it's gonna take for you to work here? I would say, don't tell them that, because that's exactly what you're gonna get. Yeah. So the budget represents their floor, okay? The worst that they can do before they have to walk away. That's gonna be generally closely held information. But I do think if you make an offer, right? The idea is if this is sane and this is crazy, you want your first offer to be right about here, right? Just this side of crazy, okay? If I offer you something that's 20 times more expensive than you were prepared to pay, that's this side of crazy, and no one counteroffers because they're like, we're so far apart. That's what you're worried about, okay? But you also don't want to offer something that's so sane, like, I was prepared to pay 3 times as much, right?
That's what I do sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna give them the best deal possible.
Right. And so you gotta kind of play with this a little bit. But here's what I always say is, if the better are you prepared to know what your aspiration is. If you set your aspiration and your goal in advance of this conversation and not simply try to work off their bottom line, is absent what they want, what do I want? Okay, let me try to push for that. And now, it could be that by pushing for your aspiration, you end up this side of crazy. But it's also the case that what influences whether something is sane or crazy, whether someone counteroffers and stays in the conversation with you, is not just about the number you throw out, but it is also about the justification you give. So if I say to you, like, I don't know what you sell, but like, okay, how about like, $300 a widget, because 300 is my favorite number. Okay, that's not a very compelling justification, even if they're willing to pay 600. Okay, but let me tell you 300 because at this volume, that is the lowest price we've ever sold. Something like that. Now it still might be more than they wanted to pay, but now they're like, well, at least I understand why you're asking for what you're asking for. And so how we package the justification ends up being important. So start with your own aspiration. What do we think, right, that this is worth? Let's try that, and let's try to put a justification on it that keeps them in the conversation. Because what you actually want in that first conversation is you want a no. You do not want a yes. Because if you say 300, I'm like, sure, right? What's the next thing you think? I went too low. You want a no. You just want an interested no. You don't want the no thank you, we're going elsewhere, like we'll never talk to you again. You want the, I don't know if we can do that, okay? And maybe they can't. That gets you a sense of, I'm still in the conversation and now I can start asking a few more questions. But the actual item of like, what is their budget? You kind of have to infer it from trying to figure out. And even sometimes the nonverbals, you can tell when you're way out of range because of how people react, and you can tell when you're not. Is try to infer it. And one of the ways I can do it is to try to place the most ambitious first offer I can, justify it as best I can to show them why I'm asking for this and why it's not insane, and then wait to see how they respond to it and to work backward from there.